Hello, I'm Alistair Haynes, the founder and chief executive officer of Aquis Exchange PLC. I want to introduce you to some of the Aquis Exchange team. I'm joined here today by David Stevens, the chief revenue officer, by Adrian Ip, the head of technology, by Richard Fisher, the chief financial officer, and Sarah Louise Porter, who is responsible for the onboarding of clients and the delivery of issuers to the Aquis Stock Exchange. First, let me introduce you to David Stevens. David, as Chief Revenue Officer of Aquis Exchange and also head of the Aquis Markets business, perhaps you could let us know a little bit more about the offering that Aquis has.
Well, our core offering is high quality execution. And through our unique subscription model, that becomes very cost effective execution for those members who use it in the most cost effective way, optimize it. And then separately, I think because we're a small company, we can be very responsive, very service oriented, and very transparent in all our dealings with members and the metrics and the data that we provide to them.
There are other exchanges out there. What sort of really differentiates Aquis?
The number one thing is our subscription model. So from the very beginning, that's been the lead differentiator versus the other exchanges. And for those members who are able to utilize it in its most cost-effective manner, obviously the marginal cost of trading for them is zero. So we're a unique venue and they get unique outcomes.
I mean, Aquis has been going now for 10 years and you know more than anyone, you were a founder investor. You joined us a few years ago. What changes have you seen and what are you looking for the changes for the future for the company?
I mean, clearly when we were founded, the offering was all around the lit book. And it was around the lit book, as I said, with a unique subscription model. But as the company has progressed, especially in the last 5 years, we now have an offering for all types of trading strategies. So we've got dark offering, we've got auctions, both periodic auctions and closing auctions, and we're going to be introducing additional order types which lead you into block trading. And in 2024, we will of course be adding OptimX, which will enhance the offering. So by the start of 2024, whereas before we were focused on lit trading and that was 65% of all the market, we'll now be addressing 100% of all the market. So that's a big difference.
Can you tell us a little bit more? You talked about the OptimX deal. Perhaps you could just mention a little bit more about what that really entails for us.
Yeah, well, conditional order types, which we're introducing, is all about block trading. So allowing asset managers, banks to trade large blocks anonymously. And we're bringing out our own product, but OptimX adds to that product. So OptimX, through its blotter scraping technology, accesses the asset managers and also into the blotters of the sell side. And they've got distinct selling advantages, I think, over the other blotter scraping technologies in the market, whether it's functionality or whether it's just pricing. And I think a combination of OptimX and our conditional order types through AMP is a pretty strong offering indeed.
Going on to market share. Now, market share is something that many people look as a sort of a really important metric for the company. I'm not certain I always agree with that, but it is looked at. I mean, can you talk a little bit about our current market share, what we expect in the near term, the medium term and the long term?
Current market share is 5%. And that's made up of lit market share, which is sort of 3% of that 5%, and then the other, where it's periodic, dark pool, or closing auctions make up the remaining 2%. And I think those latter 3 products I talked about, which is the auctions and the dark pool, they're all relatively new products, and I can see them growing quite substantially in the next few years. The lit book, I think, is very exciting for us because, as you know, we're changing our rule. That means we're no longer restricted to a small niche part of the lit market. We'll probably be more than doubling or trebling our addressable market size in the lit book. So that book, I think, itself can grow substantially as well. So I think a combination of those brand new products and then revitalizing the lit book means that we should be targeting 10% in the medium term. And I think that's infinitely achievable.
I mean, you talked about changing the rule here. Perhaps you can just expand a little bit more on that and what that means and what the implications are to both the market and to Aquis.
Well, our current rule prohibits proprietary trading flow. And proprietary trading flow is generally much faster. And for those members who are executing against that proprietary trading flow, they're speed of execution is very low. And we don't do that. So on Aquis, we probably favour lower toxicity over speed of execution. And by changing the rule, we will give liquidity providers the choice. So those liquidity providers that value low toxicity above everything else will trade using the existing order types that only trades against agency flow. But for those liquidity providers that value speed of execution above everything else, they will now have the ability to interact with aggressive order flow from both proprietary trading and from agency trading. And that lets us maximize liquidity on the venue, and I think can really aid significant growth in our lit order book.
So what really excites you now about the future for Aquis?
My view is we're just getting started. Even though we've been going for 10 years, we've got new products in some fast-growing areas of the market. And so I think we've got a really strong platform from which to grow further. But the things which excite me are the changes to the rule, because that totally revitalizes our lit book. The Optimix deal and introduction of our own conditionals, so it lets us access block trading, which we haven't done before. And retail. So the retail market is substantial. It's 10 to 15%. We haven't addressed that to date. It's a whole market segment that we don't really address directly. And it's a market segment that we think is underserved by the market. And retail clients don't have access to particularly cost-effective trading or all the professional tools that institutions do. And we have a strategy, which is as yet unveiled, but we're in talks with some of the UK's biggest online brokers. And we believe that we'll be able to introduce a strategy in 2024, which will give those clients very cost-effective trading and access to all the professional tools that our current institutional members have. So I think that could be very significant for us.
David, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.